Hey friends, it's Missy again. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm here with a new layout for the Paige Evans design team, and I am so excited because this is my first layout using the new Horizon collection. And look at this paper. Would you just look at this paper? Right away, I knew I had to use it. It is stunning. It's paper number 3, and it has all the colors, and it's in a beautiful sunburst pattern, and there's tone on tone patterns on each color. It's so pretty, and so I knew right away that I wanted to use this. And so what I'm going to do is sort of cut all of these pieces apart and kind of recreate a smaller version of this sunburst on my background and incorporate mixed media on it as well. So I've got them all cut up there, and of course they're getting all jumbled up, but I'm going to try my best to keep them in order. So I thought I would use white cardstock as my background since there's so many colors in this sunburst. I couldn't possibly decide on a certain color to use, so I just went with white. And white is going to allow me to do some mixed media really well, and it's going to allow all these colors to really show. So I decided to use a black and white picture because I could not possibly go through all of my photos and decide a color photo to use that would do these papers justice. And you know, sometimes you start with your photo, sometimes you start with the paper, and this layout is driven by this paper. And so I just decided to take out the color photo idea and having to search for the perfect color photo and just go with black and white, and that way I knew that wasn't even going to be an issue. So I trimmed up the edges of all of these sunburst pieces, and now I'm going to take my edge de-stressor and sort of tear up and ruffle up, bend up a lot of the edges, and so it's going to be very textured, very dimensional, and kind of ripped and torn. And I kind of wrinkled up some of the pages here, or some of the papers here and there. And so I'm going to have the photo sort of right in the middle because my daughter is looking up towards, she's looking at me, but it looks like she's looking up and above her, and so I want her to be looking like she's looking across the paper. So I am going to do some mixed media on the part of this white background that's going to show. And so I took some time to think about, you know, which color should I use? I didn't want to use all the colors on the background because it would pretty much take away from all of the colors in the sunburst. So I just went with one color that's going to be very subtle. And so I went with that periwinkle blue color, and I'm using one of my shimmer sprays here. It's called Frostbite. I coated the whole thing, or most of it, with clear gesso, and then I just started to spritz it with water, use some plastic packaging. I'm tilting and turning the background to let the color kind of run and blend, and I just want it to look kind of like a color wash. I want it to be light and subtle. Like I said, I didn't want to use any of the dark pinks or any of the bright yellows or the bold green. I felt like this was the most, I guess you could say, the softest color that would add interest to the background but wouldn't overpower it, because I wanted the black and white photo to stand out and I wanted all those colors to stand out. So you can kind of see what I'm talking about there. It's still kind of a messy watercolor look, but it's very subtle. And another reason I chose the blue is the blue sunburst pieces are over on the right, and so there's kind of some separation between that blue and the background blue. And so this is kind of how it's going to look. Now, the background's pretty much dry. It's probably still a little wet because I was impatient, but I did take my heat gun to it off camera and dried it up a little bit. So I'm going to very lightly start to glue down some of these pieces here. And I don't want them perfectly straight. I want them kind of crooked and kind of, you know, off center. And then I'm going to go and trim off the pieces that are hanging off the edge. I love to create layouts with things running off the page. I just think it gives it a unique and different look and not so perfectly even. So yeah, I don't know. I like it. I think it's different. Some of the sunburst pieces are overlapping, some of them are not, so I just wanted it to be kind of wonky and crooked. All right, so I'm going to lighten up some of the center of this sunburst, so I'm just going to take some white gesso on my finger and do a little bit of smudging, and I'm not trying to cover up those colors. I just want the photo to kind of stand out a little bit more, so that's all I'm doing here with this white gesso. And I've been sick for a couple of days, so I'm so sorry for my croaky voice. And it's also the morning time, and so I sound extra croaky in the morning. So hopefully this isn't too bad. So I'm going to add some white tissue paper behind my photo there and add a little bit of adhesive foam to raise it up off the page. And then I'm going to add a little bit of splatters. I'm still using that same blue color. And I like how it's subtle. Now, I let everything dry, and then I decided to do some stitching. I pulled out colors, every single color of the rainbow here, and I actually was so impressed that I had colors of thread to match every single sunburst. So there they all are. And it wasn't hard. It was just a straight stitch through each one. I just kind of wanted to echo the sunburst idea. And so mostly it's the pink and the purple that are going across the page. But I did the light blue, I did the periwinkle, the greens, the yellow, the orange. And I just love that. I think it gives it some texture, it gives it some interest, and I just love stitching. Now here's where I'm going to add in my little tangled thread thing here. I was only going to do a little bit on the sides of the photo, but I kept going and I decided to kind of do each color tone on tone, and that means I'm going to put some pink thread on the pink, some blue thread on the blue, some green on the green, and it's just going to give it this really fun textured look, and you can kind of see here once it's done. I love how that looks. It's still subtle, but it gives lots of texture, but since it's tone on tone and the colors match, it's not distracting. It's not taking away from the background. It's not taking away from the photo. I hope that makes sense when I say tone on tone. I'm going to go ahead and glue that down. And I love that. So I went through all of the embellishments, and again, I'm going to continue with the tone on tone thing. So in the Horizon collection, there are some shaped paper clips, and I'm going to use two of them. You just saw those there. I'm going to use a pink one and a yellow one that are flowers. And then I'm just going to start to sort through things. There is an entire floral die cut pack. There is another ephemera die cut pack. So I pulled out things that would be small enough and that matched each color, and I'm just going to start to play around. I'm going to try some butterflies, some dragonflies, some flowers, some leaves and stems, and just try to tuck things here and there. And again, I wanted things that were kind of small. I didn't want to cover up the sunburst. I didn't want to cover up the photo. So I just do small little trinkets here and there that echo the colors and just add to the interest and the dimension. Now there are epoxy stickers. They're kind of puffy, but they're more epoxy, and they're shiny and really, really colorful. There's a cardstock sticker sheet. There are chipboard stickers. I do use this little together sticker here. I thought it was perfect. It's actually, I thought it was black at first, but it's navy blue, but I feel like it's a darker color, so it's not taking away from any of those other colors, and I like the way it looked there at the bottom of the photo. And this is one of those collections that everything is so beautiful that it is so hard to choose what to use, because I just wanted to use all those flowers. I mean, I knew that paper, all the papers are gorgeous, don't get me wrong, but this paper, you know how sometimes you just see a paper and it's like you instantly fall in love with it? That is what this paper did. I saw a page that Paige created with it, and I just said, oh my gosh, that paper, I have to have it. I cannot wait to get it. And so, yeah, but the embellishments, everything is so colorful and bright, and it's just gorgeous. If you love color and you love flowers and patterns, then you need this collection. It's so perfect. So I thought I would do a little cluster over in the upper left corner since I've got all that open space up there. And so I'm going to try to pull all the colors, well, most of the colors anyway, in small pieces. So I pulled that chipboard flower. It's kind of orange and pink and navy blue. And then I'm just going to layer some more flowers around it. Got an orange one, a pink one, a yellow one, and then I'll add the pops of green with the leaves and the little epoxy sticker that says today is blue And I'm going to glue those down so I can start to move that around as one big piece. And I am going to echo some thread. What color haven't I used up there yet? I thought, well, I haven't used any purple. So this was a perfect opportunity to use some purple thread. And so that's why I always say about using thread. If you, if you like the way it looks, thread is a great way to add that extra pop of color. You know, if you don't have a certain embellishment or you don't have something that works in a certain space, just tuck some little bits of thread in there like that and you instantly get the color that you need. And it also gives some texture and it just gives it a fun little whimsical, messy look. And I know some people don't do messy and that's perfectly okay. But if you aren't afraid to get a little messy, then thread is a great and pretty cheap way to add that little something something to your layouts. And I also added some darker blue. So here's the 6x8 paper pad. I was looking for something small to add to the purple sunburst. And so I saw this, there's a sheet, it's also in the 12x12. It's a sheet of watercolor phrases and words. And I wanted it to be small. So I cut it out of the 6x8 paper pad because it's a smaller scale. And it just says the best. And it's that purple, different purple shades. So I cut that out and I'm going to stick that down to the purple section. And then here are the epoxy stickers. I'm going to use a couple of those. Like I said, they're epoxy. They're kind of puffy, but they're shiny and colorful. And some of them look multicolored, like they were watercolored. It's just the detail is so pretty. So I'm going to come back in again with the background. My backgrounds are never done. I feel like I'm always coming back and working on them. So at this point, up to this point, I'd stuck with just the blue. I do decide to add some pink splatters, and they're very subtle. I roll my paper towel over them right away to kind of soften it up. I don't want it to be too bold because I didn't want to do all the colors because then it would just get way too colorful all over the page because I've got the sunburst that's super colorful and then I've got that little cluster that's very colorful. So I needed some white space in between that. I did want to add some white splatters, and so I just watered down some white acrylic paint using my big brush there to fling it around. And I love how white acrylic paint works because it dries exactly like you see it. Because a lot of white sprays, you know, they fade away and it soaks right into the page and you can't even see it. But the white acrylic paint is pretty thick, and so it's going to dry just like that. So I just decided to go simple with my title. I'm going to use a cardstock sticker that says happy, and then I'm going to use these colorful watercolor-ish looking thickers from Horizon and just come up with the word girls. I didn't want a huge long title, and it's just a cute selfie, so I thought Happy Girls is fine, and I did the title up top there. I like the way that looks. Almost done here. I'm going to use my T-square ruler to add some lines, and I just decided to do my journaling down here at the bottom left. And I'm using my black fine tip Sharpie for that. But anyway, there's the final layout. I love how this turned out. I hope you guys enjoyed this because it was so fun to make. I was squealing and just so excited to use this paper because it just had all the colors. I mean, there's so many opportunities for rainbow color schemes, but there are also lots of opportunities where you could do monochromatic. I mean, there's tons of everything in every color. So yeah, I took lots of close-ups here. Let me know if you have any questions about any of the products or this collection at all, the techniques. It's beautiful. You really do have to get your hands on it. It's awesome. So I hope you guys have a great week. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.